George Orwell was born on June 25, 1903. He is one of the most famous writers in the world. He wrote many books, essays, and newspaper articles. He is best known for two books, Animal Farm and 1984. These books are still read by many people today. They are about power, freedom, and truth. George Orwell was not his real name. It was the name he used when he wrote books. His real name was Eric Arthur Blair. But in this story, we will call him George Orwell, because that is the name most people know. When Orwell was a young man, he liked to read books. He also liked to write stories and poems. He did not come from a rich family, but he was smart and worked hard. He learned many things about the world by watching and listening to people. He also traveled to different places and saw how people lived. One of the first important things Orwell did was go to a country called Burma. Today, this country is called Myanmar. Orwell worked there for the British government. But he did not like what he saw. The government had too much power, and the people had very little. This made Orwell feel sad and angry. He began to think more about justice and fairness. After he left Burma, Orwell wanted to become a full-time writer. He started to write about the lives of poor people. He lived in Paris and London. He worked as a dishwasher and walked in the streets. He wanted to understand what life was like for people with no money. Then he wrote a book called Down and Out in Paris and London. In this book, he tells the story of his time living with poor people. He used the name George Orwell for the first time when he wrote this book. Orwell believed that writing should tell the truth. He did not like lies or tricks. He wanted people to think clearly and see the world as it really was. He wrote in a simple and clear way. His words were easy to understand. But they also had deep meaning. In the 1930s, Orwell went to Spain. A war was happening there. Many groups were fighting. Orwell went to help one of the groups. He was shot in the neck, but he lived. This war changed his life. He saw how governments used lies to control people. He also saw how hard it was to know what was true. This made him want to write more about truth, lies, and power. After the war in Spain, Orwell wrote a book called Homage to Catalonia. It is about what he saw and did during the war. The book did not sell many copies when it first came out, but now many people read it. It is one of his most important books. In the years after the war, Orwell wrote more books and essays. He also worked for the BBC, a radio company in Britain. He made radio shows during World War II. He spoke to people in other countries. He wanted to tell them what was really happening. But after some time, he became unhappy with this work. He thought it was too controlled. He wanted to write more freely. In 1945, Orwell wrote a short book called Animal Farm. This book made him very famous. It is a story about animals on a farm. But it is not just a story for children. The animals in the book act like people. They talk and make plans. They fight for freedom. But in the end, the pigs become the leaders. The pigs say all animals are equal, but they live better than the others. The book shows how power can change people. It also shows how easy it is to lose freedom. Animal Farm is a very clever book. It is easy to read, but it has a strong message. Orwell wrote it because he wanted to show how some governments say one thing but do another. He wanted people to think about what is fair and what is not. After Animal Farm, Orwell wrote his most famous book. It is called 1984. This book is about a world where the government watches everyone all the time. People cannot say what they think. They must believe what the government tells them, even if it is not true. The government changes the past, controls the present, and tries to control the future. In 1984, there is a man named Winston. He works for the government, but he begins to ask questions. He wants to know the truth. He wants to be free. But the government does not like people who think for themselves. The book shows how a government can use fear, lies, and control to keep power. Orwell made up many new words in 1984. One of them is Big Brother. Big Brother is the name of the leader in the book, but we never see him. There are pictures of his face everywhere, and the words Big Brother is watching you. This idea has become very famous. Today, people still use the words Big Brother when they talk about governments or companies that watch people too much. Another idea in 1984 is double-think. This means holding two opposite ideas at the same time and believing both are true. For example, the government says war is peace and freedom is slavery. Orwell wanted to show how language can be used to control people's minds. He believed that clear thinking needs clear language. Orwell finished writing 1984 in 1949. He was not feeling well when he wrote it. He worked hard even when he was sick. He wanted to finish the book because he thought it was important. He wanted people to see what could happen if they stopped thinking for themselves. 1984 became a very famous book. People read it all over the world. It made Orwell even more well-known. But Orwell did not want to be famous for no reason. He wanted people to read his books and think. He wanted them to ask questions. He wanted them to understand the truth and protect their freedom. Orwell wrote many essays, too. He wrote about politics, books, language, and daily life. One of his most famous essays is called Politics and the English Language. In this essay, Orwell says that language should be simple and clear. He says that many people use big or fancy words to hide the truth. He believes that bad language can lead to bad thinking. Another famous essay is Why I Write. In this essay, Orwell talks about the reasons he became a writer. He says that he always wanted to write. He also says that good writing should help people understand the world. He says that writers should care about truth and justice. Even though Orwell died many years ago, his books and ideas are still very important. People still read Animal Farm and 1984. These books help people think about power, freedom, and truth. Orwell's writing is still used in schools, newspapers, and on the internet. His words are strong and clear. They help people understand the world. George Orwell's birthday was June 25, 1903. Every year, people remember him and talk about his work. Some people write new books or make movies based on his stories. Others use his ideas to talk about the world today. Orwell's books are not just stories, they are lessons. They teach us to think. They teach us to be careful with power. They teach us to ask questions. Orwell believed that truth is very important. He believed that if people stop asking questions, they can lose their freedom. That is why his books are still important today. In the world of today, many people use cameras, phones, and computers. These tools can be helpful, but they can also be used to watch people. Some people say that Orwell was right. They say that the world today is a little like the world in 1984. They say we must be careful. We must protect our freedom. Orwell's books are not just about the past. They are also about the future. He wanted people to think about what kind of world they want to live in. He wanted people to stand up for what is right. He wanted people to know the truth, even when it is hard. George Orwell gave us many strong ideas. He showed us how words can be used to help or to hurt. He showed us how truth can be lost if we are not careful. His books are like a light. They help us see clearly in a dark world. Today, when people read Orwell, they do not just enjoy a good story. They also learn. They think. They remember that freedom is not free. It must be protected. George Orwell died in 1950, but his voice is still here. It speaks to us through his books. It tells us, think clearly, speak truth, stand up for what is right. That is the story of George Orwell, the man who wrote about power, truth, and freedom. He left us many books. But more than that, he left us ideas. And those ideas still live today.